Good evening everyone and welcome to another Sporting Memories quiz this Saturday evening. Hope you're all well. So carrying on with the theme that we started a few weeks ago now, we've done the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and now of course we're on the noughties or the 2000s. So getting a bit more recent in terms of memories. The usual 15 questions to have a go at. Good mixture of different sports, and tomorrow night of course we'll go through the answers and have a little chat about some of them where we can. So if you're ready for the noughties quiz question, Sporting Memories, here's number one. So we're starting off with some football this evening, and can you name who finished the top scorer in the top flight Premier League 4 times in the noughties? Who finished as top scorer in the top flight 4 times in the 2000s? Any ideas? Going back a bit now, isn't it? Of course, we're in 2020 now. So who was finishing top scorer 4 times? That's number one. Number two, motor racing now, Formula One. In 2008, 23-year-old Lewis Hamilton became the youngest driver to win the World Championship title. Whose record did he break? In 2008, a 23-year-old Lewis Hamilton became the youngest driver to win the World Championship. Whose record did he break to achieve this feat? So do you think that's something that was way back in the past, or do you think it's something that was more recent? So that's number two. Quite a difficult one, that. Number three, looking at some rugby now. Which side has won the most Six Nations titles during the 2000s decade? Which side has won the most Six Nations titles during the 2000s? Any ideas on that one? Quite a difficult one, that. That's number three. Number four, jumping across now to cricket. In how many test matches did Kevin Pietersen lead England during his brief spell as captain? In how many test matches did Kevin Pietersen lead England during his brief spell as England captain? Probably remember the name, you probably remember him being a captain, but how many matches did he lead England on during that his spell as captain? Number five, snooker. Which non-ranking tournament did the late Paul Hunter win 3 times in the noughties prior to his premature death? Which non-ranking tournament did the late Paul Hunter win 3 times in the noughties prior to his premature death? And that's number 5. So a bit of snooker there. What have we got now? Rally driving. So another different question. So number 6, rally driving. Which British driver won the World Rally Championship in 2001 despite winning just one of the season's 14 rallies? Which British driver won the World Rally Championship in 2001 despite winning just one of that season's 14 rallies? Any names pop into your mind? Do you follow rallying? Do you watch it on TV? That's number 6. Number 7, keeping things changing with golf this time. Okay, no British player, so this is golf, no British golfing player has won a major during the 2000s. But which 2 British players have collected second placed finishes in the game's top events during this decade? So I'll read that one again, sounds a bit complicated. No British golf player has won a major during the noughties. But which 2 British players have collected second place finishes in the majors during the decade? So we're looking for a couple of names in golf where they finish second in golf's majors. Any ideas on who that could have been? So, still moving to a different sport. Number 8. In which winter sports event did Germany's women go unbeaten in all competitions for almost the entire decade, before finally suffering defeat in February 2009? In which winter sports event did Germany's women go unbeaten in all competitions for almost the entire decade, before finally suffering defeat in February 2009? That's number 8. So a bit of a winter sports one there. Number 9. This is an interesting question. Lance Armstrong's 7 consecutive Tour de France victories between 1999 and 2005 dominated the first half of the decade. Obviously before his doping was exposed. But who took over from him as Tour winner in 2006? So Lance Armstrong's 7 consecutive Tour de France victories, 99 to 05, dominated the first half of the noughties before he was stripped of his titles, of course. So who took over from him as Tour de France winner in 2006? That's an interesting one. Can you cast your mind back that far? Any ideas on that one? 2006? Number 10, track and field. In which year did Paula Radcliffe establish her women's marathon world record? In which year did Paula Radcliffe establish her women's marathon world record? And if you're really good, you'll tell me where she established that record as well. Do you get an extra point for that? Well, I suppose you could do, yeah. So that was number 10. Number 11, boxing this time. There has been just one undisputed heavyweight boxing champion in the noughties, and he held the undisputed title for just 4 months of the decade's 120 months. Who is he? I'll read that again. There's been just one undisputed heavyweight boxing champion in the noughties. He held the undisputed title for 4 of the decade's 120 months. Who is he? That's quite a difficult one, isn't it? Number 12. What have we got here? Basketball. Michael Jordan, you probably know that name. Michael Jordan's career seemed over at the end of the 1990s, but he made a surprise comeback to the NBA in 2001. Which team did he play for on his comeback? Which team did he play for on his comeback to the NBA? That's Michael Jordan. Number 12. Number 13, bit of horse racing. Which now legendary racehorse became in 2009 the first horse for 20 years to win the Derby and the 2000 Guineas? Which now legendary racehorse in 2009 became the first horse for 20 years to win both the Derby and the 2000 Guineas? Any ideas on that one? That's quite a tricky one as well. Unless you won a bet on it, of course. Number 14, football. Only one side has managed to get relegated from the Premier League 3 times in the noughties. Which team was it? Only one side has managed to get relegated from the Premier League 3 times in the noughties. Which team was it? Hopefully not your team. So that was number 14. And finally, number 15, a bit of Formula 1 to finish on. Jenson Button won his first Formula 1 race at the 2006 Hungarian Grand Prix. Who was the last British driver before him to win a Grand Prix race? That's an interesting one. So let me read that again. Jenson Button won his first Formula 1 race at the Hungarian Grand Prix in 2006. But who was the last British driver before him to win a Grand Prix race? And if you're really good, you'll know where it was. So that ends the 15 questions on the noughties. I hope you've enjoyed that little journey through the 2000s. Quite a few different sports there, wasn't there? So tomorrow night we'll be going through the answers. And until then, bye-bye for now.